Well, good morning. Welcome back from the weekend. I hope you had a good one. I did have a restful one. So it is a fresh new week, fresh new day. Monday is here. And so the blessings and many opportunities coming our way in this fresh new week. My name is Olive Monica Najuma. And I have Jerome Paul Sonko in Studio B plus Uncle Bob Robert Chirabo Nyonyintono in Studio A. He's back. He's energetic and he is vibrant, ready to serve you, entertain you and also educate you, because that is our mandate as the national broadcaster. We are coming to you live here from Nile Avenue at our broadcast house here at Uganda Broadcasting Corporation. It's amazing that we get to start this beautiful new week with you, but also a question to the parents. The week has started with our children going back to school. Have you been able to return your child to school, or you're still looking for money? Whatever it is, we pray that this week may end better for you than it has started. That is, if it has started on a red note, negative note. But if you've been able to return your child to school, kudos to you. It's no easy feat. And as a parent, I understand the predicament of school fees week, and the headache that comes with it. But I wish you the best. Now, to the candidates that are returning to school today, we wish you the very best, because we know that in just, actually, Senior 4 will be sitting their exams end of next month, and P7 will also be sitting their exams very soon, and also Senior 6 students will be sitting their end of year and end of secondary school examinations. So there is a lot going on this term, and also the other non-candidates, this is a promotional term for them. So everyone is supposed to be at their very best. Now, if you're a student and you're still home, your parents maybe don't have the money to take you to school yet, this is not the time for you to relax. You can still use this time to revise as you wait for the money for you to go back to school. So you don't have to wait to go back to school to start reading, because as you know, in the new curriculum, there are assessments that take place, and you don't want the first assessment of the term to find you not ready. So if you're home, parents are still looking for money to take you back to school, use this time to get ready even further, so that by the time you go to school, you're just ready to start your assessment exams. And with that being said, I would like to check on that gentleman in this crowd. I'm the only, what is it called? There is the bull and the cow. I'm the only cow in this crowd.
In that crowd,
yes,
there is always the dominant bull.
Okay, so which one is it?
Definitely, the dominant bull is here. Good morning, our
you
viewers.
Like yourself, Robert.
No, it is reality. There's always a dominant bull.
Okay.
Now the other bulls benefit after the dominant bull is tired, or it has gotten some issues.
I don't know if Chiravo, rather, I don't know if Mr. Mpima is okay with you calling yourself the dominant bull.
Like, no, the dominant bull is obvious.
All right.
That is no question. I'm the dominant bull. And as the dominant bull, allow me to greet our viewers and thank you so much for waking up with us. This is Good Morning Uganda. Now we are here to ensure that you're well versed with what is happening every morning globally, not only in Uganda. Were you in Nakaseke?
Over the weekend?
For the birthday.
For the birthday of the president.
Yes.
I didn't go, but I was following the events as they were unfolding closely. Also, it's important for you to know that that's my home district, and my people are always excited when the president visits, or when anything to do with the president is happening. Yes.
It's about to set a wanted cake.
I didn't make it, but I was following the events.
But I was in the side of Hoima, and I was meeting people celebrating with His Excellency. They had put balloons, cakes, and I was like, okay. As Nansana, Bachi Susiza, they celebrate with His Excellency, Kaguta Museveni. School fees week, Mujuulira. Yes, that is something that you must do as a parent. Education is a right, but that is a bit questionable here, because much as it's a right, you have to pay for and ensure your child goes to school. That is if they're not in universal primary or secondary education. And Now is the time for a number of men, more so us who cherish being Africans, to think twice.
And by cherish being African, please elaborate.
You know, Msaya Tabaliro Anzaro.
I knew it.
Such talks. Now is the time for you to value very well, to think twice, and then know that you should have children by choice and not by chance.
I know a health facility that offers family planning services, and that is their tagline. Have children by choice, not by chance.
Not by chance.
Precise, concise, straight to the point.
Straight to the point. So don't dare if you know that certain things are not very well for you. Other than that, we want to wish all the children who have gone back to school, please study. Head teachers, school owners, be realistic also. This 100%. If a parent can give like a 50, a 70%, allow that child in school. But talking about, and some funny things, there's a school, you've paid everything, now you've forgotten to do medical. Take the child back. I mean, let's be human.
I hear you, Chiravo, I hear you. And I understand that school is not only there to educate, it's also a business for the proprietors. But I think you need to understand that times are hard. Now, if a parent brings in not zero, 50 to 70%, I personally don't see why you'd say, no, take your child back. The term has just begun. It has 3 months. And in the 3 months, honestly, I believe that if this parent is serious, they would have found the money and cleared the fees. But I think we should have a conversation with the school owners one of these days.
This is third term.
No, it does. So we are going to run away.
We are going to run away.
If my child has been in your school for 3 to 4 years, why should I run away this year?
And those who say no tamu si ya kuita, please don't drink fees. This is a very critical term.
No tamu ya kuita.
No tamu ya
Jerome Paul, good morning.
Good morning to you.
You hear the problems of parents.
Yes, I was listening keenly. And
yes.
I have siblings of mine who are already parents of not only one child, but more than 2. And they've also been going through the same debates over the weekend and how prepared they are for third term.
Yes.
And definitely when you look at the schools themselves, school administrations are also always geared up for such terms because they know it is the third term where they have to make more money, because after that, the holiday, which is the longest holidays for schools, is always 2 months away. Meaning the chances are very, very minimal for schools to even hear anything from the parents' side in regards to not paying on time or even not completing school fees for the year.
Do you think they're being fair, though? I understand that they need to cover certain gaps and to ensure, to minimize losses as much as possible. But here, my school of thought, I've had my child in this school for, let's say, 2, 3, 4 years. And in the third term, that's when you're telling me, oh, by the way, you must pay 100%. So do you think that I'm going to run away this term? Especially if, let's say, my child is becoming a candidate next year, or even if not?
Well, it depends on what the school wants to achieve. When it comes to third term, I think if the school is lenient enough to allow you go through first term and second term without completing to 100%, by third term, I wouldn't want to say that they are harsh in a way. I think from a business kind of, perspective,
yes,
they are now looking at it from how have we fared in the entire year. We've offered services, we are a commercialized entity. How are we going to be earning if at all people are not completing the largest portion of that or the highest percentage of payment, which is always total or zero balance? And even at university level, when you're going into graduation, you get to realize that the matters to do with clearance have to be very, very, you have to be very, let me just even look for the better word to use. You have to be in the right books of the bursar or the financial office of the given institution, because at any one moment you won't appear on the list because they know that you've been with them for 2 or 3 years or 4 years, and if at all they've given you all that time not to pay, you have to make sure that you clear on the final day. But that said, over the weekend, you've been mentioning about, you and Chirava have mentioned about President Museveni celebrating 80 years.
Yes.
And here on the team, we're wishing him a happy birthday and more years ahead. But looking into his message, where he reminded the people of Chegegwa yesterday in the morning as the Chegegwa district were holding the prayers for the president in Chijaguzo parish. He reminded the people to focus more on the element of production, which he understands more that if we focus more on production, it's going to spur household incomes, or it's going to lead to the growth of household incomes. And it's the same message that he delivered. It was part of the message he delivered on Saturday at the Serena Hotel, where there was the CEO retreat. That is the private CEO, the private sector CEO retreat in Kampala. This particular one was focusing on northern Uganda. However, it was held here in Kampala, and of course there was a lot of potential at display, especially from northern Uganda, which of course the president was emphasizing that northern Uganda has got rich potential, meaning all regions have to be adopting and picking up from each other in order to grow and develop different households, as well as lifting very many other people away from poverty. But since the week is here and we are starting off on the note of taking children back to school, I wish you parents on the team all the best, and all our viewers out there to prepare accordingly and clear off their school dues.
Well, Sonko has just burst a bubble. He is speaking as a businessman this morning, and he's not letting parents off the hook. So we have to look for that money, because it's a promotional term. Candidates are sitting their final exams. So whatever it is, as a parent, you must do it so that your children can go to school and promote to the next term. Now, that being said, let's look at the news.
And we begin with the birthday boy, that is President Museveni, whose birthday was yesterday. Now, the Vice President of the Republic of Uganda, retired Major Jessica Alupo, the Speaker of Parliament, Anita Among, her Deputy Thomas Tayebwa, and the Prime Minister Robin Anabanja led government side at President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni's birthday celebration at Kijaguzo in Semuto, Nakaseke district. Other guests included ministers, former prime ministers, service chiefs, NRM senior members formed the celebration congregation. The chairperson of Uganda Episcopal Conference and Mityana Diocese Bishop, Right Reverend Bishop Dr. Anthony Ziwa, accompanied by the Bishop of Kabale, led the birthday liturgy. Shortly after the prayers, the birthday boy Yoweri Museveni, in company of the First Lady Mama Janet Museveni, joined the celebrants. Performances from Ethiopians, Congolese, and Ugandans lit up the birthday. The Mufti of Uganda, His Eminence Sheikh Shaban Ramadan Mubaje, first daughter Pastor Patience Rabogo, retired Bishop Eridadi Chironde prayed for the day. The First Lady Janet Kataha was among the sermon's intercessors. Janet's prayer was full of memory of the dark days of Museveni's revolutionary journey. And this was the long-awaited moment. The speaker of the day included the Minister for Ruwero Triangle, Alice Kaboyo, the Vice President, retired Major Jessica Alupo, among others. The jovial birthday boy, Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, thanked the Lord for the gift of life and family. He saluted the Pan-Africanist who joined and helped him in the early days of his struggle. To him, it's not only about an individual of Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, but rather a celebration of everyone's contribution. To the people of Nakaseke, Museveni apologized for the sorry state of Matuga, Nakaseke Road, and others. He, however, noted that he is impressed about the level of improvement in the housing sector in the Greater Luwero. Moving on, a National Drug Authority closed 79 drug outlets in southwest Uganda. The Regional Inspector of Drugs, Southwest, who is also the Senior Inspector of Drugs, Mulindwa Kudra, told the media that NDA operations was conducted in the districts of Insingiro, Bushenyi, Tungamo, Rampara, and Kiruhura. At least 183 boxes of assorted medicines worth over 50 million shillings were impounded. The public relations manager of the National Drug Authority said there are regional teams to support supervision and support the key mandate. It is easy to access to safe and good quality medicines. During the operation in 8 months, National Drug Authority recovered 1 billion shillings of stolen government drugs. Now, Uganda is set to reopen its embassy in Sudan, but this time it will be in Port Sudan due to the situation in the capital, Khartoum. Uganda's ambassador to Sudan, Dr. Rashid Yahaya Semudu, said 18 countries have already opened their embassies in the war-torn country, and Uganda government officials will be paying an assessment visit to the embassy location. Meanwhile, the Islamic University in Uganda, IUIU, has signed an agreement with the International University of Africa for their war-affected students to study in Uganda. When war broke out in Sudan, some time back, non-citizens had to be repatriated back to their countries, including Ugandans. Embassies of different countries in the capital, Khartoum, were also reportedly attacked and destroyed. However, a total of 18 countries have now reopened their embassies in the country, with Uganda slated to open hers in Port Sudan. Uganda's ambassador to Sudan said that the move will enhance trade relations between Uganda and Sudan, as well as help Ugandans who have been stranded there. Meanwhile, the Islamic University in Uganda and the International University of Africa have signed an agreement to facilitate the students that were affected by war. Islamic University in Uganda, IUIU, lecturer Professor Ismail Simbwa Jagenda said the first step would be to look at the finalists. And finally, from the local scene, the Lango Cultural Foundation has nominated 4 clan leaders to vie for the paramount chief position. This follows the resignation of the current paramount chief, Museveni Odura, who has set to leave office at the end of this year. Elections for his successor is scheduled for October 11th this year. The election is organized by a group of clan leaders who boycotted the March election, where Dr. Engineer Moses Michael Odong Okune was elected as a successor to Museveni Odura. Odura, the current paramount chief, has served since 2003 and announced his retirement set for November. The 2-day nomination exercise was closed for Wanchawi, seat under the Lango Cultural Foundation. Vying to succeed Museveni Odura are Dr. Dan Okello, who also participated in the March election and lost. Others are Benjamin Okwi, Dr. Richard Nam, and Ambassador Dixon Ogwang Okur. Each candidate presented their vision in line with the aspirations to lead with over 3 million subjects. The chairperson Electoral Commission for the Cultural Institution said the commission will present the candidates to serve the one chair and the Ministry of Gender as guided by the Constitution. The ministry has, however, gazetted Dr. Engineer Moses Michael Odong Okune as the paramount chief-elect following his victory in March. The election was also held by another section of clan leaders.
Now crossing over to the news in the United States, former President Donald Trump is safe following an apparent assassination attempt at his Florida golf course, and a potential suspect is in custody, this according to authorities in the United States. Secret Service agents spotted the barrel of a rifle poking through some bushes and opened fire at him, officials said. The FBI said Trump was 300 to 500 yards, which is about 275 to 455 meters away at the time. An AK-47 style firearm and scope, along with 2 backpacks and a GoPro camera, were later found at the scene. A witness reported seeing the suspect running from some bushes and jumping into a black Nissan car after the agents had fired at him multiple times. The witness took a picture of the vehicle and number plate, and it was stopped later on in Martin County, north of the club. We got a hold of Martin County's sheriff office, alerted them, and they spotted the vehicle and pulled it over and detained the guy, said Sheriff Rick Bradshaw of Palm Beach County. Now looking at West Africa, looking at Europe, a firefighter died during a flood rescue in Austria and one person drowned in Poland as torrential rain caused by Storm Boris continued to wreak havoc across Central and Eastern Europe. In Romania, 5 people have died while several remain unaccounted for in the Czech Republic. The Austrian province surrounding Vienna has been declared a disaster area, with its leaders speaking of an unprecedented extreme situation. Poland's Prime Minister Donald Tusk declared a state of natural disaster. Some of the worst rainfall has been in the Czech Republic, where some areas have seen around 3 months rainfall in just 3 days. Evacuations are underway and 4 people remain missing, 3 in a car which disappeared into a river in North Moravia and 1 man who was swept into a flooded stream in South Moravia. Marek Jok, a resident of Lipov in the southeast, said the town was closed from all sides and the next wave of the flood is still to come. Now turning our attention to West Africa, at least 40 people have drowned and are presumed to have died after their boat capsized on a river in northwest Nigeria, this according to officials. The wooden boat was ferrying more than 50 farmers to their fields across the river near Gumi town in Zamfara state on Saturday when it capsized, a local official said on Sunday. Only 12 were rescued yesterday shortly after the accident, said Nala Musa, a political administrator of the flood-hit Gumi district where the accident happened, adding that authorities were searching for the bodies of the rest of the passengers. Musa added that the vessel was crammed with passengers far beyond its capacity, which caused it to overturn and sink. This is the second time such an incident has occurred in the Gumi local government area. Aminu Nuhu Falale, a local administrator who led the rescue efforts, told Reuters news agency. More than 900 farmers rely on crossing the river in the region daily to access their farmlands, but only 2 boats are available, often leading to overcrowding, Falale added. Well, sad news coming in from Nigeria. But now let's turn our attention to the dailies from Uganda and also East African countries of Kenya and Tanzania.
Well, starting off with the New Vision, Term 3 school grants delayed over ghosts. The learning institutions receive over 100 billion shillings per term. This is according to the New Vision. As President Museveni marks 80 years, read about that in the New Vision, a picture of President Museveni and the First Lady yesterday during his 80 years celebrations. Then Katanga trial, expert explains DNA samples. And then in Matters Lifestyle, Makorale Choir shines at live and lost concert. Also, in Matters Health, ex-member of Parliament Katuramu recounts kidney woes as Uganda scoops award at China Tourism Expo. That is in the New Vision. Looking at the Daily Monitor, still standing at 80. Read about octogenarian President Museveni, who celebrated turning 80 years at the weekend, now joins a league of leaders in a class of their own. It also means that the head of state has served the nation as president for 38 of the 80 years he has been alive, standing head and shoulders above all regional leaders. Now, 1986 to 2024, the faces of nearly 4 decades of President Museveni in power. Then also news, Joshua Cheptegei asks Ugandans training in Kenya to return home. following the death of Rebecca Cheptegei. Then also Metro, how 2 trillion Ugandan shillings money for Kampala metropolitan projects will be shared. There is a breakdown of that in the Daily Monitor. Then in Healthy Living, the bitter truth about taking too much soda. Find out more in the Daily Monitor. Third-term headaches for students and parents in the other news also. Now moving to the Daily Nation in Kenya, Secret deals rock Ruto's regime. As the bigger question is, Kenya Kwanza government pushed tenders without conducting public participation. Where is the deputy president? Gachagua skips president's church function in Nyeri, asks the Daily Nation. Then why universities and schools are in turmoil? Find more in the Daily Nation. Also, Martha's property, developers billions frozen in apartments, zoning raw. And in the English Premier League, gift of the Gab, Gabriel's bullet header and Arsenal derby win. And in Martha's devolution, members of parliament in new plan to unlock 60 billion shillings for counties. Then lastly, from our press reviews, The Citizen, how bus farms are adapting to competition from the standard gauge railway. Then why uptake of insurance services in Tanzania rose twofold in the last 3 years. Also, in Martha's national conclusion, CSO Week 2024 ends amid accolades. And meet the dream team that makes it all happen. Local content in mining gets fresh impetus with launch of new body. The dream team is looking back at the 20 years of the Citizen's existence. Also, Catholic bishops condemn abductions and killings in Tanzania. More of that is in our press review this Monday.
Well, thank you, Jerome Paul. Now we will take a short break and we are going to leave you with a Victor ad featuring Pato Ranking Prayer Request.
Live from UPC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda.
Well, good morning. Welcome back from the weekend. I hope you had a good one. I did have a restful one. So it is a fresh new week, fresh new date. Monday is here. And so the blessings and many opportunities coming our way in this fresh new week. My name is Olive Monica Najuma. And I have Jerome Paul Sonko in Studio B plus Uncle Bob Robert Chirabo Nyonyintono in Studio A. He's back. He's energetic and he is vibrant, ready to serve you, entertain you and also educate you, because that is our mandate as the national broadcaster. We are coming to you live here from Nile Avenue at our broadcast house here at Uganda Broadcasting Corporation. It's amazing that we get to start this beautiful new week with you, but also a question to the parents. The week has started with our children going back to school. Have you been able to return your child to school, or you're still looking for money? Whatever it is, we pray that this week may end better for you than it has started. That is, if it has started on a red note, negative note. But if you've been able to return your child to school, kudos to you. It's no easy feat, and as a parent I understand the predicament of school fees week and the headache that comes with it, but I wish you the best. Now, to the candidates that are returning to school today, we wish you the very best, because we know that in just actually Senior 4 will be sitting their exams end of next month, and P7 will also be sitting their exams very soon, and also Senior 6 students will be sitting their end of year and end of secondary school examinations. So there is a lot going on this term, and also the other non-candidates, this is a promotional term for them, so everyone is supposed to be at their very best. Now, if you're a student and you're still home, your parents maybe don't have the money to take you to school yet, this is not the time for you to relax. You can still use this time to revise as you wait for the money for you to go back to school. So you don't have to wait to go back to school to start reading, because as you know, in the new curriculum, there are assessments that take place, and you don't want the first assessment of the term to find you not ready. So if you're home, parents are still looking for money to take you back to school, use this time to get ready even further, so that by the time you go to school, you're just ready to start your assessment exams. And with that being said, I would like to check on that gentleman in this
UBC. Was brought to you by
I'll call you every day, yeah, yo, may you don't know.
You can now get all the Chibuzi out with MTN voice bundles. Call all networks Kubei Dondoro. Buy a 25-minute voice bundle for only 1,000, or buy any daily voice bundle of your choice. Dial *100*21# and select daily, or use the My MTN app. When we talk together, we are unstoppable.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda.
It is time for our newsreel. Time check is 4 minutes past 7 o'clock on this Monday morning, when most of you are probably heading out to drop children to school. And of course, we have to now brace ourselves for the traffic jam that happens during the school term. But that being said, we now speak still matters to do with education, but most importantly, the safety of our children while at school. We have experienced a few fire outbreaks, actually not a few, we've experienced many fire outbreaks in this country over the years. One outstanding fire outbreak is the fire that broke out in 2008 in Budo Junior School, where we lost a number of pupils, about 20. And of course, one of them is now regarded a hero, that is Yvonne Namaganda, who died while trying to save the lives of her fellow pupils, bringing them out of the dormitory. Unfortunately, among the times that she came out bringing people out, one of those times when she went back inside, she never came back. So on this day, as we speak about the fire outbreaks in schools, we remember her. But also we remember many of our pupils and students that have died because of a fire outbreak in various schools around the country. You keep your children at home for 3 weeks, for 2 months in a holiday, only for them to go back to school, and in 1 week or less, they have perished. This is not any news that any parent would want to ever hear, myself included. But now let's look at the factors here. When you look at the fire outbreaks in the country, it leaves a lot to be desired. And of course, when you look at the investigations done and the reports that come out, there needs to be a lot of discussion regarding the same. So today we ask you to be a part of this conversation through WhatsApp number 0709 602 592. And the question we are asking is, how can we strengthen safety measures to prevent fire outbreaks and reduce fatalities in our schools? How can we strengthen safety measures to prevent fire outbreaks and reduce fatalities in our schools? I believe that even when you're not a parent, you can still contribute to this conversation, because the safety of our learners is important for everyone. Now, I am Olive Monica Najuma, and I am with Robert Shirabo, Nyonyintono, and Jerome Paul Sonko in Studio B, and together we will be having this conversation to see if we can find some solutions, and maybe an opinion leader, a policy maker could change or pick something or two from our discussion. But we'd like to hear your opinions as well, so join the conversation. Now, Robert, I will start with you right here, and I would like for us to look first of all at the historical aspect of the fires in our schools. When you look at the Bodo fire, there was the fire of that school of the deaf, of the blind, Salama School of the Blind. So when you look at all these school fires and many others that have happened, we had one in Kasana, we had one in Mbale, we've had many, and some of them have been fatal. I remember this year one was in Masaka, which was fatal. And when you look at all of these, what has been the major contributing factor to the cause, or as a cause of this fire?
Well, the major factor is very annoying because according to a report from the police fire and rescue services, it indicates that 80% of these fires are a result of arson. Now, arson, it means someone deliberately touched these young children. When you go to the Bodo fire, it came out it was arson. When you go to Salama School for the deaf, it was very clear it was arson. Now, police took fingerprints, but they say they took from the male workers of the school, only to find that none of them would match the fingerprints from the evidence they collected from the scene to the samples they had taken. When you look at one that happened in Waise, still it was arson. So, majority of these school fires are a result of arson. Either, that's why, if you look at it critically, you may find that most of these fires, a question you'll ask yourself is, why are they occurring in private schools? 90% in private schools.
Yes.
Now, when you go to dig deeper, you'll find we start a school, me and Sonko and you, but then Olive, maybe you have more of the money. As time moves on, you try to find a way of eliminating us. And then someone feels cheated. We began this school together, and it seems out of our sweat, you're the only one benefiting. Now, those issues have happened. Land wrangles have caused these issues. But also, you know, private schools, sometimes administration is funny. You end up chasing a cook anyhow. I have the right to fire, I have the right to hire.
That's right.
Or teachers somehow. Two, some arson have been a result of students, expelled students. Remember there was a case in Western Uganda where a child who was expelled came back and lit.
Actually, this is how he did it. He came back and tied the student who had reported him for bullying, tied him on the bed, and then set the dormitory on fire, and the student never made it out.
So, some have had these students who have been expelled, who are ill-mannered, come back and touch. So, majority it has been arson. Then, to a certain case, we've had issues of electricity. And here we've seen police come out and condemn that if you're having a school, please have the right people do the installation in the school. But when you just get anyone to do an installation for a building that is going to have lives of children, that has been a problem. Now, decades back, there used to be candles, because by then, generators were not that very common. So as a student is reading, a candle drops or they sleep, and you know mattresses, there are so many materials in a dormitory that really catch fire very, very fast. So, but of late it is arson and electricity that have been the main causes of these school fires.
Wow. And of course, as the years have gone by and as we've experienced different fires, there have been more questions from parents and the general public when it comes to the safety of their children. Now, Joram, I would like to bring you into the conversation, and I would like to know, in your own perspective and from the reports you followed over the years, what are some common gaps or weaknesses in fire prevention strategies in our schools today? And also, if you see any specific areas where schools tend to overlook safety protocols?
Before I even get into that, I've been looking at the definition of occupational health and safety, which is given as the science of anticipating or evaluating any form of outbreak or disaster that may arise So meaning with occupational health and safety, as a school or as an institution, you have got to look at, and evaluate and see where might the fire come from. Or let's say, if at all, you have let's say a dormitory, how safe is it? And that brings me to my first answer to the question you asked, that the common gaps in some of these schools has been the failure to evaluate that if at all I am setting up this particular building, this is where I am supposed to prevent any unbecoming of, let's say, any sort of emergency. Because when you look at one of the cases in Kenya, for example, the most recent one, is that it is actually believed that the emergency door had been closed from the outside. Now, in such situations, when it comes to the common gaps, imagine if you are at school and you're having close to, let's say, 500 pupils or 700 students. The question is, you are having all of these ones in the dormitories. Why then do you have an emergency door with the lock on the outside of the dormitory? Now, that is the gap number one, is that at times most of the schools are setting up these particular facilities and they do not even know the importance of certain things, meaning very few schools are putting a lot of attention to the same. And then there is also an element of overcrowding in most of the schools. And this is majorly because of the fact that many of the schools have become commercialized, or because of the commercialization of schools, and it has now turned into a business, where schools will have so many students, regardless of whether they have the capacity to have them fitting within the school premises. And over the time, this is where you're seeing overcrowding, you're seeing incidents where students are sharing, very small portions of, let's say, the bathrooms. And that kind of overcrowding does not only lead to, let's say, does not only make it difficult in such situations of fire outbreaks, but also other diseases related to overcrowding, including matters to do with hygiene, health matters in there. So you look at some of those gaps. And then there's always been something to do with regulation. And normally when the schools have reopened, you find out that Ministry of Education officials normally move around schools to see how ready are the schools for, let's say, a given term, for example, third term. Now, in most cases, some of these schools, even during the time when the Ministry of Education is going through, tend to bribe some of these officials. Now, this is where you're bringing in the government, that regardless of the schools failing at this, at times some of these officials are failing, or the regulators. Because remember, if you have noticed that a school does not have, for example, a fire extinguisher, or maybe fire extinguishers that have not expired, then why, if they have fire extinguishers that have expired, then why are they still operating, or why do they still have them on display?
And you're raising two issues here. There is the issue of the school having or not having fire extinguishers.
Yes.
And then there is the issue of having unserviced fire extinguishers, because some of them have them like decoration. You want fire extinguishers will get, but no one cares to find out if they are serviced. But also, Joram, let me ask you, when it comes to fire and safety, do schools actually carry out what are called fire drills, teaching students and pupils on what to do in case of a fire emergency, or they just have the fire extinguishers, basically doing a little bit of what has been prescribed by the government, but not entirely?
Sadly, unless they have a visiting, let's say, fire safety coach, in most cases schools do not do. Because I've been also looking through a report here that shows that when you look back at what the government has been putting in place, is that in 2006 we had the Occupational Health and Safety Act, which is still running up to date. That is the Occupational Health and Safety Act 2006. And then also, this is feeding into the International Labour Organization's strategy and agenda towards creating safety at different workplaces, including schools, obviously. And then there is also the National Building Review Body's online fire safety assessment toolkit, which is focused on all of this. But
are these adopted by these schools?
No, they are not. And you will find that not even the staff members have any idea on how to, to handle safety emergencies at times. Because when you look at an incident in Budo, 2008,
yes,
it was reported by the police that when you look at what led to the fire, part of what led to the fire was that there were pillows that were in, on the dormitory side, that is the matroness side, or let's say the dorm mother. And there were pillows that had been in
piled
one place.
Together, even mattresses.
And
yes,
that is where everything started from. Meaning, they didn't even know that keeping some of these particular things can lead. Because here we are talking about preventing. Yes. And the preventive measures are some of the things that maybe the school staff, that is the teaching and non-teaching staff, need to be more aware of, because they are the ones that are going to be helping the students and the pupils who at times may fail to think out of the box.
Yeah, thank you, Jerome. Now, Robert, I did ask Jerome about whether or not there are teachers and even students know how to respond to a fire emergency. Now, I will ask you, what would you say is the importance or the role of fire education in how to deal with a fire drills and whatnot in safety or in case of a fire outbreak?
Well, important to note is when a fire breaks out, the actions of people in the area that has been occupied by fire can lead to them surviving or them dying, depending on how knowledgeable they are. Because our viewer, most of the times, actually what kills people is not the burns. It is this smoke and suffocation.
Yes.
The smoke creates suffocation. Now, just imagine a fire broke out in this studio. The actions you do, the actions I do, will either save us or destroy us.
Right.
We can have a stampede, and much as that door is wide, none of us may get out, and we suffocate. Yet if we've been doing drills, we know very well that when a fire gets us here, one, reduce panic. That is the door.
Stay calm.
Stay calm. We can't get out all at the same time,
Don't
or we
try.
all die.
Yes.
So these fire drills, when they are done, and children know that in case of a fire, this is how we get out. This is the assembly point. Because a school must have a fire assembly point.
Yes.
That even when the fire is gutted, one, don't pick anything. Because when you have these drills, the students know.
Don't pick anything. And I remember a case last year of a student. He had just gone home, then he returned after medication. So he goes to take a shower, then there is a fire outbreak, and he was naked. So he ran back to get clothes. Unfortunately, he didn't make it out.
So these drills enable the children know that when there is a fire outbreak, this is the emergency exit. You know, this is the other exit. In case you're sleeping this side, you use this door. In case you're sleeping this side, you use this door. So you teach them, they understand, they have the escape plan.
Yes.
When this fire happens. Very unfortunate, we are not proactive in this country. It is when we lose students that you begin hearing firefighting, equipment, and all these inspectors go. You're not very much. They enable them know where the fire extinguishers are. How to use a fire extinguisher. I dare you, I can bring a fire extinguisher and I put it before many Ugandans. And I tell them, please operate it, and you will see.
Can you operate one?
I can, because I've done a number of trainings in firefighting at
Okay.
UBC, and as journalists, police
Okay.
took us through a number of these trainings. Now, you find somewhere where they're facing the nozzle, it is the side of the drama that happens there. Even just removing the pin. So, you can have them, but they don't know how to use them.
That's right.
It's like you go to a birthday and say about this popping, and you see
Also-
circus. So,
Also
they
where they are
must learn.
placed. I've gone to a school And most times you find the fire extinguishers, many of them, but somewhere near the school entrance. So if the fire is in the dormitory, someone has to first run to the gate,
also
pick the extinguisher.
Also placement is an issue,
yeah,
because also students sometimes get stubborn. But that is also another issue. So that drill asked about fire drills. They help them know where to assemble. They help them know where to pass in case of a fire. They prepare them. The school has an assembly point, because very important. Remember, when a fire happens, we have to account for people.
That's right.
So a child may run anywhere and they are not killed by the fire, but something else. Yet the assembly point helps us know that yes, Chirabo is here, every child is here in the school. The drills help them to know that this is how you're going to move out. So
Chirabo, another question. What other preventative measures can schools employ?
Now, after the Budo fire, Ministry of Education and Sports with police came up what they called school fire prevention and fighting guidelines. And they were listed. These include, among the few, one, that each school must have a fence. It must have a guard during the day and night. These issues of Fasha working in the kitchen during the day,
and later he's
the one mingling posho. Then at night puts on some long coat for winter and is given a bow and arrow, and Fasha is given a whistle and a stick and moves around with a bottle of waraji.
And his radio.
Then after some time Fasha is snoring and everyone can know. Ministry said no.
Get a professional guard.
Get a professional guard. They may not be these of security companies, but at least people, 2 or 3 with bow and arrows or anything that are alert. And because we talked of arson, that can tour the school. Have a perimeter wall, that was a must. 2, ensure everyone who comes in school day and night is noted and you have the proper records.
What else?
3, triple deckers were banned.
Now, on triple deckers, do you realize that schools still have triple deckers?
Which is illegal. Because it was discovered that the third person sleeping up there, in case of a fire, when there is a panic, most of these were the victims of these infernos. Because by the time they get down, remember it's a panic, these are kids in deep sleep. Oh, Morito, fire, fire. This one down cruises. The one in the middle. Now this one is getting out, everyone is getting, so they end up coming last. So Ministry of Education and Sports said triple deckers should not be in any school in Uganda. Primary, secondary, they were banned. Not supposed to be there. 3, no burglary proofs in the dormitory.
That is for windows and...
For windows, for doors.
Yes.
Because it was said in one of the schools that even when the students wanted to use the windows as exits, they couldn't because they were proofed. Another was every dormitory should have an emergency exit door, which should not be under lock unless the students are not there. That every hall you have as a dormitory, it is not a one door. It has to have 2 doors. Break part of it and have another door.
Now, Robert, I would like to share some of the views from our viewers. And Nicholas from Gayaza says, schools in our country should establish fire safety control measures, install smoke detectors linked to the alarm system and the water sprinkler system, carry out fire outbreak evacuation drills periodically, have known fire assembly points. So he's basically adding to some of the points that you've given us. And then Cricket Derek Gagamel from Makindil Wafu says, I think all that is needed is the school owners to consider much the safety of the pupils before opening up schools. I mean, school owners put overwhelming efforts on things to do with academics and ignore matters to do with lives of students. You find the school dormitories, toilets and fences are in a sorry state, no fire extinguishers, no cameras, no security personnel, but this school will always be priding in excelling academically. So the remedy starts with the owners and the stakeholders that before setting up any school, the key issue to note is the safety of the pupils that they will receive. And that is a view from Cricket Derek Gargamel. Now, Joram, what is your view on some of the issues that Derek has raised as we come to a close?
There's something I wanted us to also focus on in regards to electrical wiring in schools. I think when you look at some of the causes of fires, simply because many of the schools have now turned, you know, because of the overcrowding, I think we also need to focus on that element of how is the wiring of some of these schools. Best believe even in some neighborhoods here in the Kampala suburbs, many of the neighborhoods, if you look at how they are getting their electricity, it is very shocking. Now on the side of schools, simply because we have so many students and pupils within the same area, and because there are so many and overcrowded, the chances are so high that a child may tamper, or let's say a student can tamper with one of the wires, and it can lead to, let's say, a fire outbreak. It can lead to a short circuit, anything you can call it at the time. So I think we need to work as the schools. They need to be very cautious on the preventive measures. As much as we are looking at one, creating awareness and letting the, let's say the staff know how to prevent some of these things, and then also looking at the students and how to deal with this. For example, the fire drilling, you get to realize that the schools at the start of everything, when they are, let's say, building up some of these facilities, they need to be ready to deal with any circumstance that may arise.
So prepare for eventualities, even if you pray that they may not happen. Thank you so much, Joram. And this is where our conversation will end. But I'll give you some numbers. According to the National Building Review Board, they say that 2 in 3 fires are started intentionally, or that is arson, and others are started by a negligent action. And it is also reported that 18% of Ugandan schools have experienced fire outbreak. So this 18%, by the way, seems like a small number, but it is quite large, because for many of these fires, we have lost a life or many lives in one go. So fire outbreak, maintaining safety in our schools, it should be major to school owners, but also parents. Now, I've also realized that in some schools, parents are not allowed to go to the dormitory. For some schools, it is claimed that they are trying to avoid any circumstance of arson, but in others, they are trying to hide something. They are trying to hide the overcrowding in the dormitories. They are also trying to hide the fact that they have burglars in their windows, and also they have the triple deckers, things that the government has said are not allowed, things they have deemed illegal in boarding schools. But we will not stop talking about things like this, because we need our children, the children of Uganda, to be safe. That being said, we will take a short break, and when we come back, Irene Allen Namisango will be giving us the Good Morning Uganda tourism updates. Stay tuned.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda.
Pick of the day on UBC. Was brought to you by
I'll call you every day, yeah, yo, baby, don't know.
You can now get all the Chibuzi out with MTN voice bundles. Call all networks Kubei Dondoro. Buy a 25-minute voice bundle for only 1,000, or buy any daily voice bundle of your choice. Dial *100*21# and select daily, or use the My MTN app. When we talk together, we are unstoppable.
In a nation hungry for truth, a world where every story matters. There exists a beacon of trust and reliability. For decades, they've been our voice and our window to the world, holding the mirror of our history. With 4 TV stations and 11 radio channels spanning 27 languages, they stand as guardians of information, defenders of truth. With Mascari Heritage Advantage, they uphold every citizen's right to reliable and free information. Their archived stories shaped our past and illuminate our present. Yet now, as new challenges arise and the world evolves, their mission faces its greatest test yet. Be part of our journey and let's navigate the unknown, uncover the untold, and safeguard our future together. Tune into your public broadcaster, for it is the intersection of trust and truth. Because to UBC, your story, every story, and every voice matters. UBC, inspiring Uganda.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda.
So more and more people find wild animals in their gardens because they have nowhere more to hide. So they seek refuge in bushy areas and things like that. And over the last 5 years, I believe this is the 7th pangolin which was brought to us from the local community when they're clearing their fields or clearing their gardens. We always notify UA from the very first one we have. They normally send a team and then they translocate them to the national parks. The pangolins we get here are the white-bellied tree pangolins, so they're forest species. And as of recently, they've always taken them to Chibale, which is probably a suitable habitat because it's safe there, and there are tree pangolins there. Recently, we received a team from UA, however, with a directive that they should take it to Lake Mburo, which doesn't add up because these are tree pangolins. They shouldn't be in the savannah. They can't survive there. But nonetheless, we've always been giving them to UA and notifying them immediately, as we will as well today. Only the last 2 or 3 pangolins which we received, we asked UA at some point that since the community keeps bringing them here and since they are displaced from the forest, that UA might consider leaving 1 or 2 of them here as ambassador animals. Because in all of Uganda, there's no any place you can see a pangolin. If you go with a school class today and you say we want to see a pangolin, there's nowhere in Uganda you'll see one. It's only by good luck you will see them in the forest, but that's not something you can guarantee. So from that point of view, we believe it would be to the benefit of the nation to at least have a place where people and students and even researchers, even UA staff themselves, even custom staff for sensibilization purposes could come and actually see the pangolin. So we have a lot of animals which are termite feeders, specialist feeders which only eat termites, as the pangolins are as well. We have bat-eared foxes which also only eat termites. So we have a lot of experience with these specialist feeders, and we've had bat-eared foxes for at least 5 years. And we have 1 pangolin now since 3 months, which is doing very well. I will actually show her to you later. Her name is Sally. And this one has just arrived now, so we will notify UA. We will check if it's a male or a female. This is an older pangolin compared to Sally, which you will see later. You can see it's still covered in dirt. Pangolins, they are quite defenseless, so they pretty much rely on peeing and pooping on you. That's their defense. This looks like it is a male. And this is a full-grown white. You see it's peeing. That's how they defend themselves. They're so defenseless. They don't bite, they can't really scratch so much. So they'll just pee on you, hoping that you will leave it alone. They're beautiful animals, unfortunately highly trafficked for Chinese traditional medicine purposes. But they're the most humble, most gentle, most friendly animal, other than peeing on people. I think we can put her back so that she doesn't get stressed. They're friendly, very, very friendly and harmless. Okay, let's just temporarily put her here so that she can relax. Okay, so this is Sally. Sally is a white-bellied tree pangolin. We've had her now for 3 months. She was rescued by the community, or let's say found by the community when they were clearing their gardens. Same like the pangolin which you saw them bringing today. We've today received the 7th pangolin over the last 5 years from the community. The reason why they keep finding them is because, as you know, the forests around Mityana and Butambala districts have been cut down over the last few years. There's very few forests left. So a lot of animals have been dispersed from their habitats. These pangolins are forest dwellers normally. So now that the forests have been cut down, they are moving into people's gardens and patches of bush. So people do find them more and more. And when they do come across them over the last few years, our community, since they know we work with wildlife, they've been bringing them here for safe custody. Then we notify UA. UA picks them and introduces them to safe areas like Chibale National Park. For the first 5 or 6 pangolins, UA has always taken them there. Then, as of recently, we asked UA that they might want to consider to leave one pangolin here as an ambassador animal, because there's nowhere in Uganda you can actually see a pangolin. Now, most people will have heard about pangolins because they're heavily trafficked for Chinese medicine, but few people have ever seen a pangolin alive. So that's why we believe it would be very good for the country to have at least one facility which keeps pangolins. The problem with pangolins is they're specialist feeders. They only eat termites and ants. And it's a bit tricky to feed them in captivity. That's why few zoos around the world have them. And that's why we're happy that we can say Sally has been here for 3 months, and she's actually gained a lot of weight since she's here, and she's doing perfectly fine. And I think it would be very nice if the country would have at least one place where people can see and learn about pangolins. So therefore, we hope we'll be able to keep Sally here.
So are you going to be getting the ants and termites?
No, we have specialized food for them. In Europe, they've made a formula. It's a powder, which is based on protein and has all the minerals and nutrients which they need for zoo animals. So we are importing specialized food for them, diet, which you mix with water. It's like a porridge, and you feed them. Because it would be hard to sustain to collect that many ants every day, because they eat a lot. But as you see, she looks very healthy and she's very well fed.
Is that feather-like?
These ones, they're relatively soft. It's like soft fingernails, actually. You can touch her. And it's just for protection. They don't use them, it's only for defense. So they roll up into a ball when there's any threat, and the scales just keep them safe, that they're not easy to be eaten by a smaller animal.
Oh, good morning, and thank you very much for sticking around to Good Morning Uganda. It's a happy new week here, and we are hoping that everybody out there gets the chance to make more money and go again, because every day new opportunities do arise, and you definitely have to put yourselves in the best position to earn off the opportunities. And well, you've definitely got to be inspired by the fact that you should not be average on every single task you are given. I'm Jerome Paul Sonko. Welcome back from that long, eventful weekend. And well, the new week is ahead of us. We now look into matters business. Now, kicking off with our business update of the day, we start with a number of women in Kampala, especially the single mothers, who have started adopting to the e-boda riding business. Now, many of them are joining the e-boda riding sector to support themselves and their own families. And of course, this is one of those reasons as to why many have now opted to giving themselves the chance to go again with life. Now, this shift not only helps them to achieve financial independence, but also challenges traditional gender roles in the workforce, where if you're to look at some of the roles in the employment sector, many of them were dominantly taken over by the men, and now the women are also stepping up and taking up this particular sports. Now, Faith Tumusime, a single mother of 2 from Wakiso district, used to rely on generosity of relatives and well-wishers to take care of her own family. But over the years, she decided to take up the mantle of also challenging herself by joining the e-boda industry. Now, after life had become pretty hard for not only her, but quite a number of other women in the country, Tumusime decided to join the e-boda riding to make her ends meet. Now, Tumusime and others are finding ways to support their families and gaining financial independence, as you can see on the screen there. Now, in the near future, there is hope to inspire and as well as help other women, also those vulnerable in rural areas, to at least become independent and support themselves rather than relying on money from different ventures that at times become a little, put them at risk of one, sexual harassment, as well as being robbed clean or offering services on a free. Now, the Green Hub, which is emission free, has 100% of women fleet and has produced 17 more e-boda riders, including women and youth. And of course, the Green Hub is a Ugandan e-mobility company which was co-founded by Nexus Green and Motor Care Group to help and create awareness for e-boda borders, as well as creating awareness to the agenda of moving to the e-economy. Now, away from that, we now turn our focus to children with disability, because when it comes to matters community-based rehabilitation, the Roofings Group made a notable contribution at the just concluded Community-Based Rehabilitation CBR conference in Entebbe by donating locally fabricated chairs to children with disabilities, locally fabricated wheelchairs to children with disabilities. Now, a 2020 World Bank report found that 16% of Ugandan children have a disability and are not able to attend school. And when you look at the most common disability among children in Uganda, this includes difficulties in seeing with a 6.5%, and then there's remembering 5.4%, then walking 4.5%, and then hearing at 3.1%. Now, at the recent community-based rehabilitation conference in Entebbe, they donated 5 wheelchairs to children living with disabilities, received by Right Honorable Rukia Nakadama Isanga, the third Deputy Prime Minister, as well as Roofings Group, coming in partnership with Chaniga Child Development Center, launched the Chaniga Mobility Project in 2023, which produces these wheelchairs for children. Our community-based rehabilitation CBR conference aligns with the Sustainable Development Goals, that is 3, 5, and 10, that is focusing on enhancing health services. There's also promoting equality for persons with disabilities and also reducing inequalities within communities. Now, on the same report, moving forward, government has further cautioned importers on exorbitant charges on assistive devices for persons with disabilities. Now, the third Deputy Prime Minister, during the same venue, that is Right Honorable Rukia Isanga Nakadama, cautioned importers of disabilities, aids and equipment against discharging high prices despite government granting them tax waivers. Now, besides that, in her address to participants attending the 3-day 7th Community-Based Rehabilitation CBR, the Community-Based Inclusive Development for Africa Conference was held in Entebbe. That was on September 13th. The Right Honorable Nakadama said that the cost of such aid should be affordable to improve the functional capabilities of persons with disability. Now, at the same time, the conference was held under the theme Advancing Community-Based Rehabilitation as well as Community-Based Inclusive Development for a Disability Inclusive Society. Now, during the same conference, participants revealed that a wheelchair, for example, costs 1 million shillings, while a cochlear costs about 50 million Ugandan shillings. Now, a cochlear implant is an electronic device that improves hearing among people with severe hearing loss following inner ear damage. And of course, when you look at the cost of some of these particular devices and different aids, it becomes very difficult for some of the underprivileged persons with disabilities to afford in order to live a better life, even though they are disabled. Now, the 2022 World Health Organizations and United Nations Children's Fund UNICEF report on assistive technology indicated that there is a considerable inequality in access to assistive technology, with only 3% of the population in low-income countries being able to access them compared to 90% in some of the developed countries. And well, that does it for our business updates this very morning. And I'll leave you with Olive Monica Najuma, who is here with the traffic updates for you, who is getting to work, and also the parents who are taking their children back to school, for a simple update on the traffic rush and how you can avoid that and more. Good morning.
Well, it's time for our traffic updates. Olive Monica Najuma. Now, it's the new school term, and with that comes immense traffic on some roads coming to the city centre. We will start with the road that brings you to Namgongo, but we'll start in a town called Sonde to see how the traffic looks like this morning. Now, looking at Sonde, at least where I am at this juncture, we are experiencing traffic jam already from different sections of Sonde Road. And as we continue with the same, I see that Sonde Road is still bringing in traffic jam, and other feeder roads are actually feeding traffic jam into the main Sonde Namgongo Road. Now, as we transition into Namgongo Road, we are experiencing smooth flow of traffic, at least at this juncture. But continuing with the same, as we reach the Chaliwajala Trading Center, we are now starting to experience traffic jam that is heading towards the side of Namugongo Road, Nalia. And as you can see, the traffic situation here is not getting any better. But also it's important to note that some people going the side of Chaliwajala and Namgongo will also experience a bit of traffic jam in some places, especially around Vienna College. You're going to encounter traffic jam over there. Now, continuing still with the Nalia Namgongo Road, we have smooth flow of traffic for some part, but now as we get to the side that has Quality Shopping Center, here we are going to experience traffic jam, especially for those that are heading towards town, and it is intense. It goes on for a big stretch. Then we encounter a bit of reprieve after that area, that valley around Nalia Shopping Center. But then going forward, we see that here we have smooth flow of traffic, and as we approach the bypass roundabout, here we will experience some bit of traffic jam. And as we get to the bypass again, I see a bit of traffic jam that is going Nalia side, and then there is a reprieve for those coming to town. And after the Nalia bypass, there is a smooth flow of traffic in, at least in the area of Nalia. Now, continuing with the same, I see that for those coming in from Nalia, where Nalia meets Majwala Road, we will experience a bit of traffic jam in this corner, and then going on to the valley in Ntinda along Chiwatle Road, I see that there is smooth flow of traffic around here, but not for a long stretch, because now we start to experience traffic jam in this area. Now, those coming in from Tinda Chigowa Road, there is smooth flow of traffic over here, and smooth flow of traffic along Old Chira Road. And as we continue still to the areas of Ntinda, we still have a smooth flow of traffic, but Chigobe Road is bringing in a bit of a traffic jam just in the center of Ntinda. Now, that is the traffic situation in the areas of Sonde, Namgongo, Chaliwajala, and some sections of Ntinda. That's where we will end with our traffic updates, and I'll be here tomorrow to give you the same. And as the day progresses, I wish the students luck and the parents. Enjoy the week, and Good Morning Uganda continues. Up next is Good Morning Uganda Agenda.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda.
Pick of the day on UBC. Was brought to you by
I'll call you every day, yeah, yo,
You can now get all the Chibuzi out with MTN voice bundles. Call all networks Kubei Dondoro. Buy a 25-minute voice bundle for only 1,000, or buy any daily voice bundle of your choice. Dial *100 *21 hash and select daily, or use the My MTN app. When we talk together, we are unstoppable.
In a world that never stops, find your balance, your beauty, your radiance. Welcome to Dr. Beauty, the show where beauty is more than skin deep. Join us as we explore the secrets to glowing skin, healthy hair, and the perfect self-care routines. From expert tips on skincare to makeup magic and everything in between. Dr. Beauty will unlock the code and show you how to embrace the beauty that's uniquely yours. Dr. Beauty, only on UBC TV, inspiring Uganda.
In a nation hungry for truth, a world where every story matters, there exists a beacon of trust and reliability. For decades, they've been our voice and our window to the world, holding the mirror of our history. With 4 TV stations and 11 radio channels spanning 27 languages, they stand as guardians of information, defenders of truth. With Maskari Heritage Advantage, they uphold every citizen's right to reliable and free information. Their archived stories shaped our past and illuminate our present. Yet now, as new challenges arise and the world evolves, their mission faces its greatest test yet. Be part of our journey and let's navigate the unknown, uncover the untold, and safeguard our future together. Tune into your public broadcaster, for it is the intersection of trust and truth. Because to UBC, your story, every story, and every voice matters. UBC, inspiring Uganda.
Juko.
Yo.
Check the shopping, man. What's your secret?
Uganda, haven't you heard of the parish development model PDM?
Yes, I did, but I thought it was just a talk.
No, Sebatia. It is real. I and a few friends together formed a circle, accessed money from the PDM, invested in a portrait project, and now things are moving.
Juko. I thought I was one of your friends.
You are.
But you left me behind.
I didn't leave you in poverty. What you do, just visit your LC2 chairperson and your parish chief and start the process of economic transformation. Just like that. The parish development model is an initiative from the government of Uganda through the Ministry of Local Government designed to transform all lives of Ugandans for the better. PDM, my parish, my development, my life.
Gange tubona kiranda amina mu company eya WIB Uganda Limited ndi member. Wemba member company eno weyeida twalinga tutuli bulungi nga abashala abe wakawaka. Abashala abe wakawaka tuemera kubaami baife nga bonkana abajamu nandanga twidinti abashala tibakozesa ki nanda. UN Women weyeida yatuteekateeka yatwegesa okulunda engege nga abashala. Twatandika beno okudulunda n'okudirisa n'okolaki twafuna mu ng'abakyala ababujiri district. Abakyala ababujiri district so tuli abakyala 14 abakola project eya WIB. Abakyala 14 twayawula mu sectors. Mulimu abakyala ba production, abaliisa, mwaba abakyala ba validation, abongera engege omutindo bayongerako omutindo. Twaba n'abakyala ba harvesting, aba harvestinga. Twaba n'abakyala abakolaki aba marketing. Sector dona diri trained era didi chedikola ki chedikola project eno tufunye mu ng'abakyala. Government yaife ne Uganda njebaza okuja kujanga batulingirira mu ng'abakyala abana Uganda eri kujanga eturobingira ebibiina bingi. We have UWeb, baleta parish development model, we have myoga, byona biri kwida muki mu bakyala oba mu bantu abaki aba Uganda.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda.
Well, thank you for sticking around. It is still Good Morning Uganda, and in our agenda today, we are going to delve into a conversation that is pertinent to all of us, and that is the rising cases of sickle cell in Uganda. We have many cases that are upsurging in the country, and one wonders why is this? So we'll look at the contributing factors, also innovation in treatment, but also what is the government, as far as the Ministry of Health is concerned, and civil society organization are doing to ensure that, one, Ugandans know more about sickle cell anemia, and also, two, that Ugandans take treatment. Also, where do we get the treatment? How much is the treatment? But also another question, is sickle cell anemia a death sentence? Some of these questions we will be looking at, and I have experts because they are doctors and they will be answering these questions. So you should join this conversation through WhatsApp number 0709 602 592. My name is Olive Monica Najuma, and I'm joined by Dr. James Okachokon, and he is the Senior Medical Officer at Ministry of Health, and also Dr. Daniel Roy Odu, who is the Executive Director, Catherine Field Sickle Cell Support Initiative. These gentlemen are going to answer many questions. So if you have any question you've been dying to ask, this is the time. And again, the number you can reach us through is 0709 602 592. Also important to note, you should leave your name and where you're texting from. Please do not call this number, as I won't be able to answer your call. But now I would like to first of all invite our guests in. I'll start with Dr. Dan. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning, viewers. My name is Daniel Roy Odur, and I bring you greetings from Catherine Field Sickle Cell Support Initiative.
Well, we are glad to have you on Good Morning, Uganda.
It's a pleasure.
Yes, and Dr. James, good morning.
Good morning. I'm Dr. Ochakachon James from the Ministry of Health, Department of Non-Communicable Diseases Prevention and Control. Thank you for hosting us, and thanks to our viewers for this important discussion. Thank you.
Well, I'm glad to have these two gentlemen because learning never ends. And I believe that if you are a couple that is about to start a family, you need to be part and parcel of this conversation, but also people that are living with the patients that have sickle cell anemia. This is a conversation for you. And I'll go to you, Dr. Dan. First of all, it is reported that cases of sickle cell are rising in the country. What, in your professional perspective, would you say is the leading factor for this?
Fantastic. Thank you so much. For starters, I would want to start by giving our viewers a national statistics or the burden of sickle cell across the country. Currently, it is estimated that we give birth to close to 15,000 to 25,000 babies with sickle cell disease across the country. And statistics also shows to us that about 80% of these babies don't live past their 5th birthday. And this is quite alarming. And in terms of statistics as well, across the entire country, we have the northern part of the country, which is believed to be having the highest prevalence of sickle cell, with about, and that is Lango and Acholi. Then Lango comes in with Aleptong district with about 23.8%, way much more higher than the national prevalence of 17%. Then you go to the eastern part of the country, that is Bukedia, Tororo, Jinja, and all those other districts around there comes up with close to about 16-17%. Then you come to central here with 10%. Then you go to the western part of the country with close to 4.1%. And this is on the basis of statistics, which was sickle cell research or survey, which was done way back in 2014-16 by Dr. Grace Ndezi, and we are still relying on it up to now. Ideally, the history of sickle cell dates way back to some years ago, as they were trying to combat malaria in Africa, mostly among the tropics. But then there has been a mutation that occurred. And if you checked in very well, you will find out that mostly some countries across the tropics have developed more higher cases of sickle cell. Nigeria is one of them. And I'm also saying that Uganda ranks number 5 in Africa in terms of the burden of sickle cell. But now, in some of these areas across this country, now like for example, Aleptong, which we are talking about here, at one point, yes, we know that it also had serious cases of malaria as well. But also, the other aspect is the fact that one, there has been lots of splinting of different clans within that belt. we know that there is a clan which has now broken up into about 12 or 13 even. Now, yet they were predominantly known that probably they were carrying the genes of sickle cell. So they broke up and formed up more other 12 clans, and they ended up marrying from within themselves.
Yes.
Because for one to have sickle cell or to be a warrior, both the father and the mother has to be carriers of sickle cell.
Yes.
So then you give birth to a warrior. Yeah.
All right. Interesting conversation we are having here, and I would like you to be a part of it because it is of importance. It is a health discussion. We are looking at the upsurge of sickle cell anemia in the country, and Dr. Dan just gave us a background on why this is so. But now coming back to you, Dr. James, from the Ministry of Health's perspective, I would like for you to tell us in the Ministry of Health's perspective why you think the cases are rising, and I beg your pardon, I would like for you to tell us as a representative of the Ministry of Health, the ministry's observations on the rising cases of sickle cell and how concerning you're finding this trend in the country.
Thank you very much, viewers. From the Ministry of Health, indeed, as my colleague has mentioned, we have noted a rising cases of sickle cell disease, and this, as explained by my colleague, we have malaria in our country, and from the history, sickle cell developed years ago, one as the human race was trying to develop ways of protecting itself from malaria. And initially, access to testing for sickle cell was limited, but it has since improved. And this could be one of the reasons why now we are able to see the actual burden. And as my colleague mentioned earlier, in 2015, we carried out a survey, and from that survey, we were able to know which areas are having higher burden of sickle cell. And as mentioned, the northern region emerged highest, followed by eastern region. And from that time, the Ministry of Health took a decision to ensure that our babies are screened for sickle cell at birth. So we have a program for screening children up to 2 years, but especially at birth.
When did this start, the screening of children at birth?
Oh, this by policy, after the survey in 2015, 2016, 2017, this was adopted. And how did we do this? One, to improve access to this testing. So through what we call the hub system, our central laboratory at Tabika is able to get samples across the country. So if a baby is born in a health facility, say in the north, we are able to pick sample from there, send it to CPHL, and get the result back. However, your question speaks to the fact that this is not widely known by the public.
That's right. And, I'm learning of it right now.
Yes. And that is why we are here to create awareness.
Yes.
That when you go to a nearby health facility and the health workers do not tell you about this, you should be able to remind them.
So yes. Doctor, sorry to interject. My question here is, which criteria is used when choosing which babies to be tested? Is it every child born at a given hospital, or you pick out just a few of them to do the samples?
Okay. When the resources are available, like I said, the policy is to screen all children born in our health facilities and up to 2 years. However, there are priorities that can be given based on the observation of the health workers. If they think that there is this child born and is at a higher risk of having sickle cell, and that is what is commonly being done.
Okay.
But ideally, we would want all children to be screened. Thank you.
Okay. That is a good one. And maybe before I let you, before I move back to Dr. Dan, when this screening is done, is it at the cost of the parent? How much is it? Because the other pertinent issue we have when it comes to sickle cell screening is the cost.
Thank you. So this is at no cost to the parent because, like I said, the government has provided the equipment at the Central Public Health Laboratory and the system to ensure that this sample is collected from wherever this child is within the country and is transported and the result is got back. However, I should also mention this, that apart from the government or public facilities, there are private health facilities that have the capacity to test for sickle cell. And they may test this at a cost. But if you're unable to afford that, then through the public facilities, you should be able to get this at no cost.
All right. Dr. Dan, back to you. I would like to know some of the innovations there are in the treatment of sickle cell anemia currently.
Okay, thank you so much. Let me begin with prevention, then I...
All right, let's go there.
Then I come to the new
to the new treatments. Okay.
To us in the CSO world or in the civil society space, we are mainly advocating for prevention right now because we do believe that if the population is much aware that please sickle cell exists, or if any religious leader or any cultural leader or any politician knows outside there that there are lots of rising cases of sickle cell across the entire country, before we unite people in marriage or only matrimony, can we have them screened for sickle cell? You know, just like how we have been doing it for HIV. Before you get married, please, you can bring your HIV test or hepatitis B test. Can we also say that before we unite you, can we have your sickle cell test available? Because when you are united or when you get married and you don't know your sickle cell status, then you end up giving birth to a warrior. The cost of taking care of a sickle cell warrior is way too expensive. It can even make a family, it impedes the economic growth of any family because almost every week you're running to the hospital, you don't have this money, this, that. And in terms of new innovations, I would like to thank so much the Ministry of Health and our development partners. We are now seeing hydroxyurea come up. Initially, it never used to be there. You would walk in a number of health facilities, but you wouldn't access this life-changing medication for our warriors. Now, hydroxyurea works in different ways. One, if you're taking hydroxyurea, it reduces on the frequency of blood transfusion. It reduces on the frequency of having the different pains, the chest pain, the vaso-occlusive crises here and there, and also it also reduces on the occurrence of the warrior getting any infection or bacterial infection and so on. Then there has also been a talk about the gene therapy or gene editing. This has not yet reached here, though discussions are underway, though it has happened in the US and it was approved, but it has not yet fully reached here. You know, things first happens the other side and then it
Before
comes here for us.
Down to
Even
us.
hydroxyurea was initially being used the other side, then it finally transitioned here.
Yes.
You know, so it's on a gradual process. But also, JCRC is in the process of now coming up with a bone marrow transplant center.
That is the Joint Clinical
Yes,
Research
the
Center
Joint Clinical
in
Center in Lubowa.
In Lubowa,
Yes.
okay.
So it's still in its processes, and we believe that soon they will come out to the public and then tell us that, guys, look here, we are now finally done, and this is happening. I can't speak on their behalf, but
Yes.
at least we know that, yes, this and that is happening there. Then there are also our people down there, Omuntu wa wansi down there. They are also trying to come up with their own different remedies. There are lots of herbal medications, but
do you as a doctor
But-
recommend that?
initially,
Yes.
all these medications have not undergone any trials.
Yes.
Okay? But there are people who come up with lots of their success stories that, yes, I've been taking this and this, but this and this is working for me. Okay? But we are saying and we are encouraging our patients, our herbalists outside there, that please, these drugs or these concoctions which you're making, they need to undergo trials through the National Drug Authority. Because honestly, one might not know the potency and the efficacy of those herbal medications which are being made. For example, we ride bicycles, okay? But these bicycles, some of them don't have the odometer or the speedometer. Then you have taken, there's also the local brew. The liras, the so on. Their
Tonto.
Yes, tonto, but their alcohol content is
Yes.
not always available.
Yes.
So just like those other medications, the herbals, you might overconsume them. You end up affecting your main body organs, and in the long run, it is putting the risk of those sickle cell warriors at a very higher level. So apart from maybe there are those people that do probably take, they do take hibiscus, they do take avocado leaves. There are some success stories there. Some do believe that it increases on the hemoglobin level of the patient. And yes, some of them are working. Some of them are doing fruits, and it is doing them wonders.
Yes.
But self-care for the warriors, it is what matters a lot. It matters a lot. If it is warm, if it is cold, you wear something warm. You're not supposed to expose yourself to lots of hard work. You are supposed to hydrate time and again. You're supposed to avoid issues which are related to stress for your own mental health.
Right. You've had it. You need to ensure that above everything else, as a warrior, you're well taken care of, or you, the parent to the warrior, that you take very good care of them so that you don't expose them to other factors that could be detrimental to their health. But I would like for us to dial back just a little bit. We have been talking about sickle cell, but one pertinent question has not been asked. What is sickle cell? How does one become a sickle cell warrior or carrier? Dr. Dan touched on it in the beginning, but I would like Dr. James to first of all tell us, what is sickle cell?
Thank you. Sickle cell is a disease, and this disease affects our blood. And listeners, if you remember, in blood we have different cells. We have white blood cells that fight diseases, infections, but we also have red blood cells that transport oxygen to our body cells. So sickle cell is a blood disorder or disease that affects the red blood cells. That means when you have this sickle cell disease, your blood, the red blood cells, tend to break easily. Why do they break easily? Because the red blood cell has a specific shape which helps it to move in the blood vessels up to the smallest smoothly. But if you get this condition, sickle cell, your red blood cells under certain conditions tend to become like sickle. And in that state, they can easily break or they can block blood vessels so that maybe if it happens in your brain, part of your brain will not get enough oxygen. If it happens in the hand, the same happens. That hand will not get enough oxygen. So you end up with mainly pain, but also other problems. So how does one then acquire sickle cell? So like my colleague mentioned, for one to get sickle cell, it is genetic, meaning it is transmitted from your parents. And it means that for one to get sickle cell, both parents must be able to have this gene, then they can transmit it to their children. So how does this happen? We have people who acquire this gene from one of the parents, while from the other parent, they acquire a normal gene. So those people will not have any sign or symptom or any complaint. They will really live a normal life like any other person. But they'll be carrying this gene, which unfortunately they could transmit to their children. And while others, or those who acquire both genes from the mother and the father, end up with sickle cell anemia. And these are the ones whose red blood cells can easily break or can easily block blood supply to a particular part of the body. And these are the ones that will usually come and will say they have sickle cell anemia. And many times they will come with pain, they will come with swelling of the limbs, they will get infections due to several reasons. So for example, maybe going deeper, red blood cells, particularly inside the red blood cells, we have what we call the hemoglobin, yes, which transports the oxygen. And this hemoglobin are of different types. So while you are being formed in the womb, usually we have what we call the fetal hemoglobin. And this hemoglobin is resistant to the effects of sickle cell. So when a child is born, normally at birth, they may have no sign or symptom of sickle cell. But as this child grows, this hemoglobin, which was made when the child was in the womb, gets transformed into what we call adult hemoglobin. And this adult hemoglobin is the one which is prone to this problem as a result of sickle cell. So as the child grows to about 6 months or around there is when usually these problems start. So the child will start getting yellow discoloration of the eyes because the red blood cells are breaking. The child will become sickly and will present with excessive crying. You may notice swellings in the hands, in the legs. And when you come to the hospital, usually the doctors will suspect that this is sickle cell. And when a test is done, then we can know that this is actually sickle cell. And that is why it is important to do this screening at birth. So that from birth, when we know that this child has sickle cell, then we can start interventions to prevent those complications of sickle cell. Thank you.
Are there cases where two carriers can actually have a child that does not have sickle cell anemia?
Yes, that's a good question. Like I said, if both parents don't know whether they have sickle cell or not, but they are carriers, each of them has a gene for sickle cell, then there are chances that they will be able to transmit this to their child. And unfortunately, if during fertilization, the sperm from the husband and the egg from the wife happen to carry these genes, then the child born will have 2 genes, one from the father, one from the mother, which are both carrying sickle cell, and this child will have sickle cell. Yes.
Now, Dr. Dan, you did touch on treatment, but I would like to ask you first of all, because I still have another question on treatment, but first of all, to our viewers, is sickle cell anemia a death sentence?
Well, thank you. Sickle cell is not a death sentence. Why? Over the years, with the contribution of the Ministry of Health and other development partners and a number of CSOs across the country and across the globe, things have changed. Lots of innovations are coming up. And these warriors are just like any other normal person. And for your information, they are also quite bright. Their IQ is quite ahead. They can perform any other task just like any other normal person. The only issue is that they have a sickled cell. They are normal people. They can sing for you, they can dance for you, they can write for you, they can talk to you, you can hug them, you can love them. It is not a death sentence in any way. And if you're outside there and you're watching us or you're listening to us from anywhere, wherever you are, if you're near any warrior, just get them closer to you and hug them and show them love, especially this month of the Sickle Cell Awareness Month, September. Show them love. They are just like you. They need to be loved because they will not transmit sickle cell to you by touching them, by hugging them, by eating with them, by showering with them, by sharing the same means of transport. They will not transmit sickle cell to you. So sickle cell, once you have it outside there and you're probably watching us, I want to encourage you and tell you that sickle cell is not a death sentence. You need to take care of yourself. You know the do's and the don'ts already. Just stick to them and all will be well.
All will be well. But now to couples that find themselves being carriers. In most cases, when you hear some of the messages you've on different media channels, they are advised to abort mission, for lack of a better word.
Yes.
They are told for the interest of your future children, for their health, it is pertinent that you do not get together. But from a doctor's perspective, what would you say to those couples?
Love is strong. Eh? Love is quite strong.
Yes, I know.
Love is quite strong, and there are some bonds which are quite hard to break. That's why my colleague initially mentioned that it is prudent enough for one to know their sickle cell status. Even before you get sexually active, by the way, that is now our campaign. Know your sickle cell status before you get sexually active.
Why is this important before someone is sexually active?
Because one, we are trying to prevent other issues that might come up if you don't know your sickle cell status. One, if you went into any sexual activity and you don't know your sickle cell status, before you know it, boom, a baby will come up.
So to avoid eventualities,
yes,
know your status.
Know your
before.
status.
Okay.
So a baby might come up and the baby is a warrior. The cost of taking care of a warrior alone, it's not that easy.
Also the emotional.
Yes, also the
cost.
emotional aspect of it. And to make it worse, men have always run away. They have left all these issues for the ladies. Once the man discovers that, okay, I think this child is a warrior, the guy will run away.
In most cases, mothers struggle.
And
alone.
mothers are there to suffer or struggle. So we advise that before you even plan any introduction, before you even start your issues somewhere, please get to know your sickle cell status. Even as you're going to test for HIV, test for sickle cell.
It should be among the
It should be among your #1 priority to test for. Because honestly, we have seen people come around. They have the introduction like Saturday, they are coming on a Friday. That now, you know, we have our function tomorrow, but we want to do a sickling test. Yes, they proceed, blah, blah, blah. They have all reacted, and you're there counseling them.
Because
Fine.
now the family has been joined.
True. We wouldn't want to tell you that, please, you leave her, you leave him. But we take you through the demerits and the merits of you guys coming together, giving birth to a warrior or not. Fine. Chances are high that in most cases, some do give birth to about, there are chances of close to 25% of probably not giving birth to a warrior or not here and there. But
those are
there are
very
lots,
minute.
very minute, very cartoon, if I'm to actually say. It is very small. But now there is, there are lots of discussions about IVF. If, like, for example, you have both of you are carriers. Now, issues of IVF has come up, though it is way too expensive.
For an ordinary Ugandan.
For an ordinary Ugandan.
Yes.
Just like we hinted about bone marrow transplant earlier on. Between 120 million to about 500 million. And somebody deep down in my village in Boroboro or probably in Palabek or in Ramushunshu or somewhere cannot easily afford this. So we encourage you, before you get sexually active, test to know your sickle cell status.
Dr. James, you had something to add to this.
Okay, thank you. This is a very important question. And my colleague has already said, the question was to the couples out there who are maybe both carriers and they didn't know before. The advice is usually for them to separate.
Abortion.
But like my colleague has said,
that's a hard one.
It is usually a difficult decision once you're already engaged to a partner and you are together.
Yeah.
But the reality is that, like we said, once both of you carry the gene, unfortunately, the chance is that each pregnancy, you are
at the risk
of having a child who has sickle cell. And this is, I can give it an example. We have couples who, for example, have 5 children, but all of them are girls. And another one, 5 children, all of them are boys. But the others, maybe 2 are girls, the others are boys. So that could happen, that if both of you carry the gene, you could only produce children who have sickle cell, or you could have some children with sickle cell, others don't have, or you could actually have all your children maybe carriers. Okay? That is possible. And so, what does that speak to? It means that it is important for us to know our sickle cell status before we get into a serious relationship. And that is why the Ministry of Health has provided a platform where at least all children should know their status. But this has come in late. Probably
we already have
most of us were born at the time when we didn't have access to these tests.
Now,
So,
Dr. James, another question. Can I be here and I am a carrier and I don't know? What is the likely chance of me being over 30, I'm a carrier, but it has never surfaced?
Thank you. Like I said earlier, once you carry the gene, but you also have a normal gene from one of your parents, you will lead a normal life. And you will never know whether you have sickle cell or not until you test.
I've asked that question because there are cases where someone is asked, do you have sickle cell in your family? And it is no one they know of to have had it, and yet we know it is genetic. So they go ahead and maybe don't screen, they get another partner only for them to turn up with children that are warriors.
Yeah, that is actually a common challenge that we face sometimes as we see these people with sickle cell or families. You will find that maybe a father will say this disease is not there in our family. Okay? And the mother will also say this disease is not there in our family. And like I said, it is possible, for example, one to have this gene, but produce children who are normal because they are carriers, okay? And the children also produce children who are normal, those are now the grandchildren,
and
okay?
yet the great-grandchildren.
And then the great-grandchildren are the ones who probably will get into a relationship where both of them are carriers, and then they get this child, yet in the last 2, 3, 4 generations, they didn't have sickle cell.
All right, thank you, Dr. James. Now, Dr. Dan, we did talk about treatment earlier, but I would like to know something about gene therapy, how it works, and if it is actually accessible to Ugandans.
Wow. Like I hinted on earlier, it's not yet available here.
Oh, it isn't?
It's not yet available. It's available in the US. It's a situation where the genes are gotten out, some, and then it's more or less, it has lots of science there. When you hear that word alone, gene editing, okay? It involves a lot of science, and in Uganda, I think we were, about 2 or 3 years ago, there was some law which was passed in reference to the organ transplant. So all these things will need to first undergo lots of reviews in this country. That's why, yes, we have been told about it, we have seen how it is being done and so on, but the technology has not yet reached here.
But
and it will be way too expensive for somebody. And I am sure even in the US where it was launched or researched on, very few people are in position to access it as of now.
Yes. It's a very new development.
It's a new development. Actually, I should say that it is still even also undergoing some trials and so on. Though they said it was approved, but it is undergoing its own trial still.
All right. Now, Dr. James, let's talk about the challenges when it comes to making advanced treatments available to the general population in Uganda. Advanced treatment when it comes to sickle cell anemia. Okay,
thank you. I would want to start from the simple things that we can do. That once you have sickle cell and we are able to find that early, we can support you to live a normal life. And how is this done? We know things that can cause increased breakage of this blood. Like my colleague mentioned, sometimes if you are not well hydrated, you don't take enough water or fluids, you get infections like malaria, like pneumonia, then your chances of the red blood cells breaking increase. So what we do as a Ministry of Health, we have trained the health workers to ensure that these people with sickle cell get the best care. They know what they should do when it is cold, and we give them medicine to prevent them from getting malaria. We immunize them against infections that they can easily get because they are of the complications that they get because of their condition. And now we also have hydroxyurea. He hinted on that earlier. This is a medicine that earlier on I mentioned that usually we have different types of hemoglobin, and the fetal hemoglobin is better at protecting the red blood cells. So hydroxyurea actually improves on your amount of fetal hemoglobin. So we are to Uganda, and from the Ministry of Health we have included this on our essential medicines list, such that the national medical stores can now be able to provide this to health facilities, and we are improving access to hydroxyurea. Apart from hydroxyurea, like you mentioned, beyond that, you could cure sickle cell if you do a bone marrow transplant. But like you mentioned, currently we are unable to do it in Uganda, and it's a very expensive treatment. But the Ministry of Health, with partners like you mentioned, Joint Clinical Research Center and others, is working to see that we are able to start doing bone marrow transplant in Uganda. So it's still very expensive, but I think we are steadily moving towards that. So for now, what is more available is the supportive treatment up to hydroxyurea, which is an old medicine, but it had been very expensive for us to afford in maybe the last 5 years. But now it is available, and the costs are going down, and we hope to improve this so that it becomes a common medicine that even when it's we are unable to provide as government, people can be able to buy and afford it. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. James. Now, I have a few comments coming through from our viewers, and Aisha from Ginger asked if what of the babies that are given, what of the babies that are birthed in private hospitals, how can they be screened for sickle cell? Now, the good doctor here did say that some private hospitals do the screening, but if you can't access that or you can't afford it, you go to a government facility and it is free of charge. Then I have a comment from Ronald from Kagadi, who says, I would like to know why it is that when I bathe, I start scratching my skin. Is it also sickle cell? I don't think so. The answer is no, right?
No.
It is not sickle cell.
If you're
anemia.
worried or thinking that it is sickle cell,
can go to the nearest
you can go to the nearest health facility and get screened for sickle cell.
All right.
Alternatively, it's just maybe some allergy, but also check the kind of water which you're using to
Okay.
bathe.
And then Andrew from Matuga says, there is medicine that cures sickle cell totally or not? Is there a medicine that cures sickle cell totally or not?
Like I said earlier, all the medicines that we use do not cure sickle cell. Sickle cell is a chronic disease, and once you get it, and the medicines currently that we are using do not cure it, but they help you to live a better life.
All right.
However, for the cure, like I said, what is currently available is a bone marrow transplant and the gene therapy, but they are quite expensive and not readily available in our setting. Thank you.
All right, doctors, someone is asking if you can share your number because they would like to reach out to you in case of further inquiries. I don't know if that's okay, but if it is not, we can probably share where they can find you, how they can get you.
Okay.
Yes.
Oh, I can be reached on MTN 0772 741024.
Okay. Dr. Dan, are you all right with that? Or you can share your socials?
Yeah, it's okay. 0772 897 869.
Thank you, gentlemen. Now, I've been speaking to two doctors about the upsurge of sickle cell anemia in Uganda. I've been speaking to Dr. James Ochakachon from the Ministry of Health, and also Dr. Dan Odur, who is the Executive Director, Catherine Field Sickle Cell Support Initiative. And together they have been educating us about sickle cell anemia and how you can actually get treatment and how you can live a better life. Now, Dr. Dan wants to show us something just before we close.
Yes, thank you so much. We would like to take this opportunity to invite you to Lira City, the vibrant city of Lira. And we're saying that we are inviting you to the first Uhuru Sickle Cell Run that is slated for the 5th of October in Lira City, where all the proceeds will be going towards the purchase of 2 HB electrophoresis machine, one for Lira Regional Referral Hospital, and then the other one for Alebtong Health Center 4. Come and cross the Nile. Meet us in Lira City on the 5th of October. Come, let's run, be part of this remarkable, noble cause. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Dan, and that's where our conversation will end. I haven't been able to share all your comments, but you can keep the conversation going on our X app. The hashtag is UBCGMU. I'm Olive Monica Najama. I've been with Dr. James and Dr. Dan. Good morning.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda.
Pick of the day on UBC. Was brought to you by. You can now get all the Chibuzi out with MTN voice bundles. Call all networks. Kubei Dondoro. Buy a 25-minute voice bundle for only 1,000. Or buy any daily voice bundle of your choice. Dial *100 *21 hash and select daily, or use the My MTN app. When we talk together, we are unstoppable.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala,